like to call to order the Proctor City Council meeting for Tuesday, January 16th, 2024. And please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll perform roll call at this time. Councilor Benson.
Present.
Councilor Reuter.
Present.
Councilor Johnson. Present. Councilor DeWall.
Present.
Mayor Ward's also present. Let the minutes reflect Attorney Bray and Administrator Rich are also in attendance, along with Chief Gaddis, Sergeant Riebel, Russell Haberman, Phil Larson, Chris Bryan, and Chief Helquist. Looking for a motion to approve the City Council meeting minutes from Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024.
So moved.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion?
Just one, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor DeWall.
Under members' concerns, just note DeWall, nothing.
Yeah, it looks like they got me on there twice, huh?
Yeah. So just make that one change. Just for transparent, also, it looks like I left the meeting early.
Awesome, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Before making that motion, I'd like to add 7B, attorney-client privilege. And with those changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda. I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to comments and suggestions from the citizens present. Public comment suggestion period of the meeting is when the city council offers a time for everyone in attendance or watching from home to address the city council. Once we move on from public comment suggestion period of the meeting, members of the public will no longer be allowed to address the council unless the mayor acknowledges you. As a general rule, the council will listen to all comments but will not comment on or respond to any comments made by speakers. The council will not engage in dialogue. However, any council member can ask questions. If you'd like to address the city council during the public comment suggestion period of the meeting, please come forward to the podium or dial 218-628-6289. Before you begin, please state your name and address for the meeting minutes. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the city council will be prohibited from using obscene, profane, or threatening language or boisterous conduct that disrupts the meeting or the security of the public. Is there anyone at this time that is interested in participating in the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting? Please come forward to the podium or dial 218-628-6289. We'll give that about a minute.
Phil Larson, 702 First Avenue, Proctor, Minnesota. Again, I think the last time I was here 1 month ago about blight, and council kicked something down the road. I don't know if I see it's on the agenda again tonight, if we've accomplished anything on there. Drove by again tonight, as I do several times a day, drive by the house. There's a skidster parked right in the middle of the sidewalk, and then after that there's a big trailer with the tongue hanging over the sidewalk. After that there's a car that's over the sidewalk, and then a truck that's on the sidewalk, which I pay a lot of taxes for, and I know my taxes, some of them go to the sidewalks, and I think that is government property. It's the city's. It is not theirs to use, and I drive by in the morning, I don't see any citations on any of the vehicles that are parked on the road against city ordinances that say that winter parking is no parking on the streets. They have sufficient parking if they would clear the tires and the wood and the logs and stuff they got in their yard and park their cars in their yard instead of the sidewalk. I think we'd be a better place. I'm not sure if it's enforcement or prosecution is the problem. There's something that's array. This has been going on for, anybody want to take a guess at it?
7 years.
I was gonna say
Several
2.5,
years,
3.
it's long time, you know? Come on, guys. I'm tired of looking at it, and I know Todd, Norm, and other people in the neighborhood, we're all tired of looking at it.
Yeah, it's been at least 7 years, I know, because
And I
our
think
old
you
administrator
gotta-
was here.
It's gotta stink,
They were
it's
getting
gotta
complaints.
hurt to get people to change on some things, you know? It's just to stop by and say, hey, if you cover it up, or if you push it off, or clean it up, it's okay. That ain't the answer. They move it off to the side for a couple of days, they make an effort, it looks like. And then within 2 days, it's all right back on the street and sidewalk. So is it gonna be on the agenda, or?
If somebody pulls 5A, that, what you're looking at is the policy we're trying to readdress. And I don't know how much we can comment on. I'll defer to Attorney Bray on what the city.
Well, I can tell you what we did, it's out for, some of the equipment are out for service now, for being served on.
And I know there was mention about talking to the property owner,
Well, you have to talk to the property owner too.
and I don't
Not
think the ones
just-
that are living there are actually the property owner.
We checked the title of the property, I think we know who's the title owner of the property.
Yeah, and they're the ones that should be,
Well, they are sued. So,
you know, they just keep putting the fines on their taxes, and they don't
well,
do
nothing will happen
do
unless you
nothing
sue
else
the
about
property
it.
owner, I know that.
So it would be nice if we could put their foot forward.
Thank you. Any other comments or suggestions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So move.
Counselor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Reuter. Any further discussion?
Ms. Mayor,
Counselor Benson.
is there any updates to 5A that we could discuss?
We haven't had a meeting. I don't remember the last time we had one. I don't think there's been any updates, so. Well, Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose, motion passes. And that will bring us to 4A, Clerk advises Council 2024 Committee and Commission appointments. Administrator Rich.
Thank you, Mayor. We had applications up for committees and commissions. We did receive applications, and I need time to run those. I believe the way council wants to have it handled is it goes in front of the committee or commission with the appropriate applicant, and then they make the recommendation to council. So we will wait for 1 month committee and commission cycle to get those approved, and then at that time we'll have your council-appointed committees and commissions on the agenda, so we're doing it all at once rather than in several sequential meetings.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll move on to 4B, Minnesota Department of Health Food Shelf Grant request. Administrator Rich.
We were notified we were not awarded the grant request that we put in for the food shelf remodeling. They say that they will most likely be future funding available. It was a highly competitive grant. But I think in the process, we realized that there's some underutilized space here at City Hall that maybe we can reimagine or reuse to better accommodate the food shelf within the parameters that we have right now. So all isn't lost. We'll continue to talk with the food shelf volunteers and directors to see how we can make their process better.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll move on to 6A under new business. Excuse me. Annual report, Proctor Police Department. Chief Gatus.
Well, every year as this is presented to you, and the annual deer hunt that is required by ordinance to provide. If you have any, I just presented it to you, if you have any questions about it.
Does council have any questions regarding the annual police report? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve the annual report. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Johnson. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, motion passes. Brings us to 6B, Resolution 02-24, Rice Lake Road Corridor Project Support. In your packet was Resolution 02-24 in support of the Rice Lake Corridor Project, along with a letter to Mr. Victor Lund with St. Louis County, looking for a motion to approve Resolution 02-24.
I'll support, or
Come.
I'll move.
Counselor Benson made the motion to support. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, motion passes. Brings us to 6C, Resolution 03-24, Purchase of Pursuit Vehicle. In your packet was some quotes for a new police vehicle. It looks like we budgeted $65,000 this year. With the build out, it would total $67,250.20. Looking for a motion to approve Resolution 03-24. I'll make a motion for discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Reuter. Any further discussion? Chief Gatus. We budgeted 65 with the build out and the new vehicle. It comes to 67,250. Where's that other 2250
The,
coming from?
the bid from EATI is a preliminary bid on that. There's things that I wanted to get something to the council for you to sit there and see if we did everything that we had to do, and that was basically late Thursday, Friday, when I finally got this.
Okay.
There's things that I can cut out of this that we do have some of the equipment.
Okay.
So it's not, it shouldn't be for EATI side, it shouldn't be. But like the radars and stuff, we haven't bought new radars for the squad cars in a long time. And two of them we were using when we were in our old building. So that's how old some of the equipment is in the squad cars,
Okay.
so.
And then as far as going with a Chevy Silverado, was that a department decision or
Kind of like we
why
don't,
was the decision
we
made?
don't have much of a decision because we're not gonna be able to get a Tahoe this year. They're kind of like, you can't order them, they're not gonna be available. Ford has the problem of agencies are ordering Ford squad cars and vehicles, and then 9 months later, they're canceling the order on them. So they're left without anything. So I don't wanna go down that road. The Ford truck was gonna be, Ford truck, Chevy truck, about the same price. The Dodge Ram that we have now is 10 years old, and that's the one I usually drive around in. So last year, the Tahoes were cheaper than the truck, so that's why we went with that.
Okay, that's what I was asking, because I know we talked about
Yeah.
the trucks were really expensive. So
Mhm.
when's this gonna be delivered if this is passed?
Through the state, the bid, or the order date is January 24th. And they sit there and say it could be up to 4 to 6 months, but we don't know.
No real deadline?
Yep.
Okay,
The biggest thing is the order deadline.
thank you. Any other discussion? Counselor Benson?
So part of that funding for this vehicle is through the 65,000 from the ARP funds? No.
We budgeted 65 in just our normal budget without the ARPs. We used the ARP fund for a squad car in 2023.
Got it. And then, what is this vehicle replacing?
This will replace one of the 2 Chargers that went out of service last year. The Tahoe replaced one Charger, this will replace the other Charger.
And how old was that vehicle? Knowing that, it's.
2000, the one that Officer Mosier had, that was a 2013, and the other squad was a 2012.
Thank you.
Counselor Dwight?
One question for clarification. We budgeted that in our general budget, so that is not coming out of the public safety fund? Or is 65,000 gonna be placed into the public safety fund and then paid out of the public safety fund?
I don't know that. I would have to ask Finance Director Brunville.
Because that's a big question.
In our last packet, Counselor Dwight, under the 2024 budget summary, expenses paid from the public safety fund
Right.
was 65 budgeted out of that fund in 2024.
So, just so we're all transparent, we put 25 away the year before, we put 30 away this year, so that's 55. We were short on the last one. Where did that overage come from, chief? Your budget?
Yes.
So we're already technically 15 behind the 65 that we budgeted. We probably should have clarified that more, because I read that too. I was just asking a loaded question. We have to figure out how to, and I know the year before that, we put 25 away, but we've been running over, it seems, over the 50 for the last couple. So I guess my question would be to the chief, is your budget able to support the, if it comes in at 67, the, call it $3,000 over the 65?
Well, we did, hopefully we did get the sale of the 2 squad cars that were more than I thought that they were gonna be. The other forfeited vehicle that we have out in the lot, that's gonna go.
Did we
for
sell those
sale.
last year?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that went back into the general, I would assume at the end of the year? So we could,
Excuse me.
I think what we should do, if we could do, to just catch up and to keep things cleaner, could we designate whatever somewhere I read $8,000, but I don't know.
For,
The 2 squads?
that's what we got, is about a little bit over $8,000
Okay.
for both of them, yeah.
Could we designate that 8, I know it's in our general, but could we designate that into public safety? So this year, the journal entry would look like 38,000 going into the public safety. That'll give a little bit of breathing room in case, I mean, you're assuming it might be cheaper, but it could be more.
Well, Counselor Dewey, for years I was able to, because, we've used a lot of old equipment. We've been very lucky to sit there, do that, to recycle them. But it's just not, with radars being, 20-plus years old, we have to sit there and update our equipment every once in a while. And other things we can reuse, like squad radios. We know that's gonna come down the pipe someday, that the fire chief and I are gonna have to deal with radios, but hopefully that's a grant. But it's just that, yes, we just don't have a choice when we're going from one vehicle to the next. You can't repurpose.
I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying, chief.
Hmm.
I'm trying to increase $8,000 into
No, I know,
public
but I
safety so you
understand.
have more money
Yes.
so that you
Yes.
can replace the equipment
Yes.
that needs
I-
to be replaced.
No,
That's been outdated
I
for
understand, but
10
that's,
years.
that was what I was under before. We had to reuse stuff so much. So I
Right.
appreciate that.
Because these newer vehicles are not, it'd be one thing if you're buying a new Charger. You might have some luck in retrofitting old Charger stuff into a new Charger, but when you're going from a Charger to a Chevy Tahoe or a Chevy truck, I would assume there's some things that just can't
Yeah.
recycle over, different makes, different models.
And they don't even make chargers for us anymore.
Yeah, and I did do a little investigating. The Tahoe is gonna be available, but it's at the tune of about 74,000.
Now, what our state rep said, he goes, your odds of getting one are slim to none this year.
And I got a question just for future budget questions, but how come that's not a mandatory when we sell an emergency vehicle such as a squad car or fire truck, that the money we receive from those isn't put in the public safety fund?
I don't think anybody's ever asked. It's just always gone back to the general, which in theory gives council a chance to disperse it again. It goes into that, but I would rather see it because we're running behind.
Right.
I would rather see that designate into the public safety, because otherwise we're gonna get into a fight between fire and police with lease payments and this payment and that payment. Even though it's one fund, in my head, I separate the two a little bit, just as, I think with the fire truck, we didn't trade anything off the last time, but when we have, the tanker, I think, went back into the general. But if we trade something in, then it comes off the price. know, this police cars are just not gonna get anything trade in, or even will they take them? Probably not.
Those ones they wouldn't.
Yeah. Really, they don't take trades and they shouldn't, but that's why it goes to the auction.
Probably getting more at auction anyway than you would be for a trade-in value, but I would just, I'd like to see that journal entry into public safety to add that, so that would be, whatever that number is, I'm just gonna speculate $8,000 plus the 30. That gives a little extra in there for, in case something comes up.
Should that be a separate motion, Attorney Bray?
It should be.
We got one on the floor for the squad, and then maybe after that, we'll make a motion to do what Counselor Wall's asking.
Yes.
I was just looking up Leslie's budget notes, and the public safety contribution for 2024 was $15,000 for fire, plus the amount from Midway and $35,000 for police.
We went up to 35, that helps, it's 30. That would make more sense, because it's 70, what, every 2 years?
I got
Counselor
Chief.
Johnson, yeah.
the 17 for accessories and all that kind of stuff. Is that in concrete, or is that,
No, that's the preliminary number. That's, I want to get you guys something for
do you
tonight.
think it's gonna go up then?
Way things are, but I know there's things on that bid that I can sit there and say, we have that, we don't need it,
Okay,
and we can cut some things, but we never know if we transfer, let's just use their squad car camera system. We move it from one car to another, sometimes it doesn't work. It just, they break, like light bars. There's no warranty on them, and all of a sudden you put them on a car, they break. They just don't
Okay.
work anymore.
Thank you. Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Counselor DeWall.
I'd like to make a motion that we move the sale money of previous liquidated police equipment, specifically the 2 Chargers, it was 2 Chargers, right? Yes. Into the, designate it to the public safety fund for police.
You heard the motion by Counselor DeWall. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That will bring us to 6D, Resolution 04-24, approving the Third Street Park final plan. In your packet was 2 different plans for the Third Street Park, the Blacktop Park there on Third and First. Russell Haberman is here, and he was a big part of this whole doing. And I believe in the plans, the committee was going with option number 2. But if there's any questions, we'll direct them towards Russell. And looking for a motion to approve plan number 2 on resolution 04-24.
So moved.
Counselor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Counselor Benson.
Just to be, so one of the constituents who lives in the neighborhood wanted me to bring up some points, their concerns. She was hoping to be here this evening, or at least call in. And looking at the parking is part of the number 2, and the neighbor felt that was just kind of a waste of space since there's parking on both sides of the street, and that could be better utilized. There wasn't a bike rack, and she thought that was important. And there was a concern about who would take care of the green space, and what about dogs, because some residents just aren't responsible. And let's see. And they did like the idea of at least the basketball courts to be open, because they see a lot of kids learning how to ride their bikes there. She thought that was important. And She did mention that the number one response was to leave it as is. So I just wanted to share her concerns, which was presented to me on Sunday.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Did you have something?
I had,
Go ahead.
yeah, and I'm sorry, but I wasn't on the committee and I probably should have brought it up, but when I first looked at this, parking is always a concern because you'll make an attractive place. I shouldn't say most, some people will walk there or ride their bike. But you can get more parking by the way it's designed. I'm just wondering if you could move, I'm gonna call it the pavilion, down towards Second Street and then make that whole back row parking, which, because if you look at the amount of parking spots that would be parked going with the road versus north and south, you're gonna get probably 2 to 3 times more parking, but to do the full half block or whatever you wanna call it, the width, and then just slide that pavilion down a bit was one thought I had on it. Because that takes care of more parking. It does take away a little bit of the green space, but not a ton.
And I like the parking there, just because it's easy access. You don't have people crossing, young kids crossing the street.
I'm thinking of a family might throw a birthday party there for a young kid, and they're gonna wanna park somewhat close to the pavilion for the food, the cake, and all that stuff. And it just kind of maximizes what space we do have, but still keeps the other components a part of the plan.
So, Russell, if we approve option 2, is this permanent, or is this gonna come to a final planning stage where small adjustments like this can be?
Any adjustments can be made, so
Right.
give the direction and we can change the designs.
Thank you.
Yes.
And these plans have been given to SCH to start considering. They think it would be a great LCC MR project application. And the work that Russell and this committee did prior to this application is worth its weight in gold. To have a plan like this where community engagement has already been installed and feedback and a recommendation is what this is. And then, you know, if we are awarded grant funding, and that was going to be coming to you at a later council meeting, but any final designs can be tweaked. But at least you know you've got the community input in front of you of what was important to the community and what wasn't.
No, that's very good to know. And first and foremost, I guess I want to thank Russell for all your time and commitment to this project. When I was elected, this is a parcel that I wanted to see something with, and when you brought this to our attention, it was a no-brainer. So with Administrator Rich's help in doing the grant application, this is going to be a cool project. So thank you.
Thank you. This was a first-time project for Essentia's Community Health Department to do a partnership like this, and so it was a trial period. I think there were some things that we learned along the way that will be taken into future projects, but I think it was a very positive experience, so thank you for the opportunity as well.
Any other discussion?
Well, I think that people need to know that, you know, Russell put out surveys to the people in the community in that area. He met with them, the surveys were online and all that stuff. You know, the parking situation, there's handicap parking there. You know, I don't know if people realize that, but that's one of the reasons why we put that parking area there. Oh, Russell worked his tail off on this thing, and he's made it look really, really nice over there as it is right now.
Yeah, and I suppose Essentia deserves a big thank you too for the partnership on this. So it looks really nice from what it was to what it is now. So, and you're right, Counselor. He did a lot of work. The committee did a lot of work. And the surveys were great. The public input was great. The meetings. I know you stopped by on your off time to see how much you tracked how often it was being used. I mean, the whole project was very well put together.
And I will mention as well that, in addition to the surveys and public engagement that went on, there were multiple rounds of the Parks and Recreation Committee that considered different versions of the designs. And so what we see here and what the recommendation is was very intentional based on a lot of those conversations that we're having. So something to keep in mind as well.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilor Benson?
I just wanted to add, outstanding job, wonderful report, everything that you could imagine is in there, very complete. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to 6E, Resolution 05-24, Fire Department Officer Appointments. In your packet was the list of new appointments for the 2024 Proctor Fire Department. Looking for a motion to approve those appointments.
So move.
Councilor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6F, Resolution 06-24, Fire Department Vehicle Purchase. In your packet is Resolution 06-24. We got Chief Elquist and Assistant, I was gonna go back to the list, but thank you, Assistant Chief Bryant here. But there is a resolution for a purchase of a new truck to replace engine number 1, and you can see what it says there, along with some emails. So looking for a motion to approve Resolution 06-24.
I'll move.
Councilor Benson made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilor Reuter. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Councilor Duell.
We kind of get this backwards all the time, but I want to make sure that we're accurate. Proctor Fire Department is requesting the City Council consider purchasing a new truck to replace, it's technically, we already replaced engine 1. We're replacing engine 2. We just are using engine 1 as a trade-in or whatever we can get out of it. But the ladder truck was a multi-truck that covered engine 1 and a ladder. We milked out 3 years, 4 years on engine 1, whatever it was. But this, for clarity, we're not replacing engine 1, we're actually replacing engine 2, but we're gonna still maintain engine 2, the status says, like we did with engine 1.
Correct.
So I was gonna bring that up as well, Councilor. My question is, so engine 1 will go away because we're dumping money into that yearly to keep it running.
Consistently over, I don't know, I probably shouldn't throw out numbers without having them in front of me, but it's
15
a
to 30 a year.
significant amount of money every year that we're pumping into engine 1. Last year, I think it was almost $18,000.
As I said, it's about 15 to 30, depending on the year and what goes, but.
The year
so-
before, it was about 20, and the year before that was the tranny problem, and that was about 35,000.
So my question is, when engine 2 gets to that point, we get rid of it, are we gonna be looking for a third truck? Are we good, is ladder and this one gonna be good for?
Oh, and engine 2 is 20 years old. Engine 1 sitting in our firehouse, 30 years old, and it's showing. I mean, engine 2 is 20, and I would think another 8 to 10 years, you're gonna have to figure out how to do something with that truck. I mean, we take good care of our stuff. I mean, they get washed after every call, the insides, the outsides, everything. We do have a component on that truck that I have talked to Troy with some of the mechanical skills about getting that truck back to the way we purchased it. We just don't think it's worth the money. The truck runs fine without it, the CAF system. But it's a personnel hauler and we use it. I mean, it's,
But when engine 2 goes, are you gonna be looking for a third
and,
truck
and
at
eight,
that time?
yeah, you're gonna have, yeah, they'll definitely be, I won't be here.
Be-
But I
well,
would think the next person standing over here after me is gonna be asking you to replace engine 2.
And it was, I guess, my thought on this buying the ladder truck and then maybe purchasing this one was to get on some sort of cycle. And I think Councilor DeWall did a nice thing by setting up that public safety fund, that we have money rolling in. But I don't know, when you start looking at the ladder truck, and would that be in about 10 years, 15 years,
No, that'll be 20 years down the road.
20 years?
I think it's gonna depend on who sits on council, what's the vision they see, whoever the chief, what their vision is of it. I can only state my opinion, and I'm not trying to kick the can down the road, but, I'm looking at, we came into this with 2 pumpers. We're gonna always have to maintain 2 pumpers, depending on budgets. You know, just because we have a ladder truck doesn't mean we keep it for 20 years either, because we may have to look at what the trade-in value is. Remember, we only paid 800 and some thousand for it.
That
It's-
truck right now sitting in our fire hall is worth 1.4 million.
So I mean, council may decide to use that equity and say, okay, let's just stay on top of that and use our equity token and replace.
And that's part of the problem that we ran into, is when I got on, we had a 68 and a 69 sitting in there. And we used 1 truck to replace 2. Because that's what engine 1 did. And now obviously we have way more calls. To date right now, was it the 16th? We got 25 calls already this month. Our call volume is going up, it's not going down. And you gotta have a way to get your personnel to the fire. I mean, it's not even fathomable to ask someone to drive their own vehicle there with the cancer and all the stuff that we're trying to prevent. And you're gonna say, oh, hey, by the way, you gotta drive your own truck there. That's not a feasible option.
And here's another one of my concerns, is our budget is set and it's a working document, it can be adjusted here and there, but we were looking at a more expensive option prior to this, and it was gonna be delivered in 2027, so we felt we may have had time. Now it looks like this stock option could be here in 2025.
So, when I first got asked to do this, I literally tried to recreate engine 1. And recreating engine 1 with exactly what it has, and that was a stock truck with some minor add-ons back in '94. Doing that, it came to like $826,000 or something like that, and I said, there's no way, this city can't afford that. So then, Jess and I had talked, she told me about the stock option, so instead of recreating engine 1, we went with the stock option, and with very minimal add-ons, like 1 add-on that we have on there, it's over $300,000 cheaper. The truck, I'm sure Jess put it in the packet, I didn't read it all, but there's the price increases that we all know about. We already missed the first one, which will be February 1st, because you can't get your fingers on a truck unless you put your name on it. So this truck that is sitting in your packet is like $518,000. So that truck, you gotta put your name on it, or you wait till the next one comes out. But then you're looking at 2 price increases between now and then. So,
But the price that was quoted included the February 1st
the one
increase.
that's in there includes the February 1st price.
So the way I look at this, because the city has some other needs that we may have to figure out what's beneficial financially for us, how to attack. I know we have a loader for the street department, and there's been, and Jim, you can attest to this, but I know we have placed out a bond when with our higher rating, the interest might be cheaper, where we purchased a fire truck and a major piece of equipment for the street under one blanket. So I'm using the price effective February 1st.
That's the one you have to use, yes.
But my window is until June 1st for the next price increase. So I'm saying, the way I read this is I have until the end of, or just say by May.
You don't though, because The truck that's on the line is the stock truck. The next stock truck won't come off the line until after June. So you're gonna hit the second price increase.
Even if we put our name on it in May?
If you put a name on a truck right now, absolutely, you get what he put out here.
What if we put it on in May?
15,000 more.
You're gonna add another $15,000
It will
onto
go
it,
up even though, okay.
cause the
Because
truck
this,
wouldn't hit the line.
this truck will be a spoken for.
So, and this truck is, it's engine 2 again with just some different cabinetry. That's basically what it is. Front bumper line for car fires, engine 1's our car fire truck. That goes down the road, we gotta have something with all the car fires we have, so one of the ads is the bumper. You can get it to flat, or we try to figure out putting a foam induction system. That's way too expensive to try to do something from the custom side of things. I did talk to Pat right before I got here, and you put your name, if you decide to put your name on this truck, you don't have to make your first payment on the truck until 14 months from the day of delivery.
And it's supposed to be delivered sometime in 2025.
Yeah, either late December or early January of 2025, correct. So you'd have 14 months from that day it arrived in Proctor.
Wait a minute, so you're expecting delivery in 2025? I thought we were talking delivery in '24, but payment due in
It would
'25.
be end of this year,
It would be delivered.
end of this
Oh,
year,
okay.
December, first part of January, somewhere in there, depending on
And then 14
COVID comes back, you're talking whatever, but yeah, then you'd have 14 months from the day it hit the tarmac at Proctor Fire Hall to make your first payment. Pat just went out of his way to make this proposal out there, so you guys saw where we're at now, where you're gonna be on June 1st, where you're gonna be on October 1st. The truck that we originally started talking when Troy first sent the email about, can we look at stock truck prices? That truck didn't make it onto the floor, and someone claimed that truck.
So, just, I'm not clear, because I'm reading this memo and I'm getting confused.
You're reading the resolution.
I'm reading the memo.
Okay.
Price is going up February 1st.
The price in that, what you have is the February
Includes the
1st
February
increase.
1st
Correct.
increase. What if we put our name on that truck in March? We won't get a truck
You won't get the truck.
until after June, the next batch.
You won't be able to put your name on a truck in March, because they only put one stock truck out every quarter. And it's not like they have an assembly line where they put out 25 stock trucks. So that's what happened with the last one, when the first question asked about the stock truck. Pat started putting it together, well, he stopped because someone put their name on. We'll take it.
Trying to understand the June 1st, so we want to make our decision how much prior to June 1st to get that quarter, which would be third quarter.
I think what Chief is saying is they got one truck available. It's this one.
It's going
And
to
if
the
we don't-
line in April.
If we don't approve it now,
The next truck
somebody
won't
else
go
will,
till after
somebody else
June.
will buy it.
Correct.
And then they won't have another one that we can claim until after June. 'Cause they
Correct.
only make one a quarter. so
And we
they-
know that that'll be 3% above today's number, which is, we'll call it 15 grand.
And they won't let us put our name on a truck they don't have.
Technically, somebody could buy the truck that we're talking about right now before we get to it.
But I think
I
what
mean-
Counselor DeWall's trying to say is if we tell them, we're gonna do this, but we'll take your next stock truck. Our name is on it prior to June.
There's no guarantee on that, because
So what you're saying is we can't say, we don't want quarter one, we want quarter two's truck. They won't let us go out that far?
because the new stock truck might come out and maybe the new stock truck's got different add-ons to it, what's already there. Different department says, oh, we'll take that.
building one stock truck. That just doesn't add
Because
up.
they're, like, right
they're-
now, if we would've went with the original truck that was there, it wasn't coming until 2027, late 27 or 28. That's how far behind they are.
But
That's
they-
why the stock trucks are behind also, is because they have the custom builds, like you saw.
Right, they're trying to control supply-demand curve,
Yeah.
simple economics.
Yeah.
They don't want the cheaper truck to be too many of them out there because everyone's gonna jump on them and try to save
Exactly.
300 grand.
Correct.
So they're kinda playing us a little bit, which
Well,
I don't like, but
they unfortunately, they control all the cars. I mean, and if they just don't simply have time and effort to put a stock truck out because they have that many custom builds, you might not see another one that hits the line until November. And then you're talking, you know, $45,000 to $55,000 increase in price.
On the plus, on the plus side, we order it now, we don't get it until the end of the year. Don't have to make a first payment till the beginning of '26. That gives us a '25 budget and '26 budget to
no,
look at.
we'd have to make a
putting it
payment 14 months. So we'd have,
After delivery.
in After delivery.
oh, after
Yeah,
delivery.
so
The
it'd still be
day, the
26.
day, so the
No,
14-month mark
deliver it, but-
starts the day of
Right.
delivery.
Right.
So-
So if we get it at the end of this year, it'd be the end of, or it'd be the beginning of 2026.
And the 26 or
yeah.
first part of 27.
Yeah.
Whatever the 14-month mark
Yeah.
is.
So you're right, we'd have time to plan.
Couple of years, budgets.
The only thing you'd have to do, the next step, if you decide to do it, is Jess has to get together with Pat, sign that contract, and then he calls Florida, says, I have a department for that truck. And once the contract's signed, then the truck is, nobody else can put their name on that truck. At this point right now, before we got here, no one's done that.
So, add-ons, this is the price of the stock truck. And I know we just approved a
We have no
squad
add-ons.
car that was 17,000 for add-ons. No
Our-
add-ons
That price includes everything
that you'll need on it?
Yep,
Okay.
comes, there's no extras.
Okay.
Like I said, the only change off the stock truck that we got approved to do was to put the front bumper line on for car fires.
Is that not gonna have a rear rubber,
It'll have, yes, it has a booster line at the back for grass fires.
but it won't have the payphone off the back corner for car fires?
The bumper line has foam,
So you're still gonna be able to carry A and B?
A and B. We got rid of B because of all the cancer. We had to get rid of it. State Fire Marshal's office said, you guys, we need to go, so we use A on everything now. It's a combination of A, B. But I have the option list I can email you guys. I printed off.
So basically, we're not gonna exceed the 518 number?
Correct.
The resolution does stay if add-ons or additions, specifications do put him above 518, that he is to come back to council for approval for additions.
The other thing is what doesn't show in there, engine one goes down the road, you're gonna get credit for, I don't know, speculation, maybe 15 grand at most,
For what was that?
for engine one leaving. They're taking engine one down the road. So we might get, I would say 15,000
And that
at
will come
most.
off this 5/8.
And that would come off the 518. Yeah, that would come off the 518.
I just figured it at 500, roughly half a mil.
So
We're at 75 right now, and for the ladder truck at 860, you know, we're sitting at a $35,000 to $40,000 payment. Add that to the 75, we're about 110 a year. If, that's just considering worst case scenario, either way, we gotta make a payment, whether we lease it and make the payment, or whether we borrow and make that payment. That's figuring at about a 2 to 3% interest rate. So I guess I'm looking down the road of, okay, we have 150, we were able to make a plan to cover 75 for the 10, 12-year cycle. Now we gotta make a plan to cover 115 for I would assume that truck, they're not gonna do a 12-year lease,
I think
probably.
it's 10.
10, so shave a little bit off, so we might be 38, call it, either way, we got a plan for not quite doubling the budget in the public safety.
Well, and I kind of like your original idea, maybe it's something Administrator Rich can work on, but doing an equipment bond and packaging
Yeah.
your street department requested.
I know there's some things we've been putting off at the street department that is taking 30 to 40,000, the loader's averaging 30 to 40,000 a year.
And I
wanna make sure we get our best bang for a buck.
will that affect this price, though, if we don't finance through them?
I think you can finance however you want.
Yeah, even if you start a finance through them, you can refinance.
Well, you could have Proctor Bank finance, but
Well, I know,
But
but I'm assuming this.
some deals are tied to interest payments,
Yeah.
that's why they give it to you for a cheaper price.
no, I get it, I'm just saying is. the
So
way-
there's no
I mean, you could use
prepayment.
anyone. The only thing we can stay with is that Houston Galveston deal, so we can stay without going out and getting 4 or 5 bids.
The way I look at it is that's like the last option. Is if we can't put anything together that makes sense for the city as a whole, for other equipment needs, then we lease it. And that's what I was going through, because I consider that kind of the worst case scenario. But I would like Administrator Rich to sit down with the street department and I don't know which, he may switch his mind because we put some money into the loader, you may say the grader, but I don't want it to be, we buy a fire truck, have this, no, we gotta buy a loader, have this, no, we gotta buy a grader, it's gonna be 3 years every year.
Finance Director Broomfeld sat down with department heads, and Rick has a loader on as his 2025 purchase.
When's the grader scheduled?
Pat just texted me, he said you can finance through anybody, price not affected.
Thank you.
He's watching.
I assume that.
So at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're approving a piece of equipment for the future, and then we just have to put our heads together to figure out how we're gonna finance it.
Grader is scheduled to be purchased in 2026.
That's what I was afraid of.
2026? Carrie, can you text Pat and see if he can do a grader / fire engine #1?
Might as well throw a loader in too. And a new dump truck.
But I mean, there's $500,000 right there,
Right,
between the grader and the loader.
right.
I mean, if any of you guys want, I do have this. Chris and I sat down and went through, well, Troy did this once. Literally every single thing on here, there's not one ad. And the blue lines were questions we had to make sure that was included in the price, because we didn't know some of the terminology. But the only change on the truck coming off the line is the front bumper. That's it. And we have to have that, unless you wanna stand it out on I-35 with, and it is a top mount. I don't like people standing on I-35 because nobody slows down. And we still send 3 trucks out there to the frown of some citizens. But it's our safety, because I don't wanna be standing on someone's doorstep.
No, I guess I would just like council to agree that we're going to do our due diligence on this. I don't want to approve a big purchase and then we don't know who will be sitting here at the end of the year either. I don't want to leave a bag of debt for everybody else. So I'd like to get moving on a plan. I don't want to wait till next budget cycle to start looking at this. I want to get something in place. So whoever is sitting here in 2025 has a worksheet on how this is gonna work. You know what I mean? I don't wanna wait till September, October to start working on how we're gonna make this work.
I'd like to see, from finance director, just as chief has got some numbers, Rick may have to go and get some numbers so we can put together and then have Leslie do the math on, because I just know lease is getting higher now, the interest rates are higher on lease than a buyout, so this one might be the case where we just go out for a separate bond, equipment bond. But if we're gonna do that, we gotta maximize it, and that might mean $1 million overall, and we might be able to stretch it a little longer. And I could see it culminating into a grader, a loader, and a fire engine.
And
then
with,
down the road, we can always refinance if the market comes back, you know, just as we do with all the bonds for the road improvement projects. But I'd like to see finance director kind of put that together so that we would have some numbers sooner rather than later. So we could at least have that presented to us sometime in February.
yeah,
I mean, that's the only way I feel comfortable approving this, is to see
Working
that.
on it, right.
Yeah,
and I'm right there with you.
because otherwise it's just gonna get kicked to the corner and we're gonna get sidetracked, and then, boy, I feel sorry for the officials.
Right, and then I don't, I'd like to see a plan in place,
We haven't even gotten our dump truck that we ordered 2 years ago.
but that's budgeted.
Right, it keeps rolling over.
Right, right,
But I
right,
mean,
right.
it's unfortunate, but the times are changing where we can't go year to year. We have to look 2 years ahead because.
And that's exactly what Jess and I were talking, that's why we started the process. I mean, originally he's come on and they tell you 56 months. And then
Man, I like,
you have a chance to save 300+ thousand and on a lesser of a truck, but fits our needs just as well.
and I like the 14-month after delivery.
Yeah.
I know Pat's watching, so it'd be, 28 would be really nice, but, no, that is a nice option, so. Well, any other discussion?
I mean, I got a bunch of answers, like, I don't have them all, but I have as many as I have.
Yeah, I don't think we wanna throw it, well, I do, I don't wanna throw you on the spot.
So we need to have a special meeting?
No,
I mean, is the February 1st thing an issue for us?
That's already in there.
That's what this price is.
I know, but
We would have to make a motion to get this price. If we don't do it today, we'll have the June, what is it, June 1? June 1 increase when we go to discuss it again. We could discuss it next meeting, but it's gonna have the June 1 increase on it by then.
Isn't
So
the
what
next
we're-
meeting in February?
what we're deciding is to basically
So that-
direct
That'd be too late.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Administrator Rich to sign off on the deal so we lock up this truck.
And then we gotta, at one of our soon-to-be meetings, we have to have numbers from Finance Director Brunfeld to come up with a plan on.
And I hate to put timelines on stuff because I know she's in the middle of an audit, but I have to put a timeline on this one. I would say by at least no later than our second meeting in February, we gotta have some numbers in front of us. Because now the next step is gonna be, when do we lock in on an interest rate?
Can Rick get the numbers that soon, you think?
yeah, I just texted him, he said he left tomorrow.
That's,
Oh.
yeah, I was giving them a little bit. They could bring it to the February meeting, but I would assume 2 weeks would be more than enough. But, because the next problem is we gotta lock in how we're gonna finance it and lock in on a rate.
Right.
Because that's, you know, there's two swords.
So as long as we have that commitment from city staff and council to address it here by the end of February, do we have a motion and a second on the floor?
We
And-
did.
Yes.
We do, right? Yes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Chief,
Thanks for the info.
Just one quick, I won't keep you guys too long, we got another meeting to go to, but the call volume last year, I'm sure you guys all saw that. There was some miscommunication on the 23 missed calls at the very bottom. We had 537, there was 23 that we had no one available for to go, so that's why it shows 23 missed on the bottom.
So I was talking to Administrator Rich prior to the meeting about that, and those were all medical.
Correct.
So Mayo shows up or the PD shows, somebody's there, our residents are just not hanging out with a medical issue. Somebody's gonna be there?
Depends where they're coming from, for one. Just the other, I don't know, was it a week ago? Carlton Ambulance was at Diamond Willow for us. His mail's got some staffing problems like everywhere else in this.
But somebody shows up, mutual aid.
Eventually, yes,
Yeah.
Hermantown actors come to town.
Just when we get questions saying 23 minutes.
Somebody's
what
coming.
happens?
I just can't put a timeline on it because I'm not sure where they're coming from.
Yep.
We had Cloquet Ambulance one day. Okay, we're getting them from everywhere, but
Sure. As long as we can tell them somebody's coming.
someone's coming. It's just really hard for people they've worked. Yeah. I mean, so now we just tell Pat that we're doing this, is that what?
We've just decided to give authorization to City Administrator Rich to sign.
There you go. I guess you gotta make a phone call tomorrow. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that'll bring us to 7A, closed meeting pursuant to 13D05 subdivision 3 for employee contract negotiation and attorney-client privilege.
I'll make a motion.
Counselor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor DeWall. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, we'll resume the regular city council meeting. That'll bring us to members' concerns. Counselor Reuter.
I was gonna do this last meeting, but I just like to, I've had some people talking to me about parking. I'd like to see us look at the parking situation in the winter, whether we could go to alternate side or not. I don't see anything happening this winter, but we look for maybe a change next year. But I think we should get together with, the street department, public safety, the police department, and just sit down and kind of go over the pros and cons and what things we could or could not do. No big rush, but I'd like to see us do it sometime between now and next season.
Yeah, and Rick sent an email with some of his concerns, and he had some good concerns, so I like the
Yeah.
idea of sitting down and at least having a conversation. So,
That's all I have.
thank you. Counselor DeWall.
I have nothing.
Thank you. Counselor Johnson.
I have nothing.
Thank you. Counselor Benson.
I unfortunately have nothing.
I have nothing tonight either. Attorney Bright.
Nothing for me.
Administrator Rich. All right. Looking for a motion to pay the bills. However, there are a few more checks to sign this evening for liquor. Those checks were in the amount of $11,725.82, bringing that liquor total to $40,893.28. So looking for a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $142,349.30.
So moved.
Counselor Reuter made the motion, second by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Counselor DeWall made the motion to adjourn. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you.